Hello, my name is Emily Rose, and I'm a professional Lenormand and tarot reader. And today we are here with your straight up love reading. Now, it does not matter if you are single, in a relationship, or it's complicated somewhere in between. This is a straight up love reading meant to give you the message that you need to hear right now about love. This is a timeless reading. So it doesn't matter if you're watching this when I'm recording it around Valentine's Day, or if you're watching it a week, a month, or a year from now. Totally doesn't matter. This message is meant to resonate with you no matter when you're coming to it. If you're attracted to it, this video is for you. In this reading, we're going to use Lenormand, which have a bit of a sassy to the point kind of tone, hence the straight up. And then we are also going to use tarot, which tends to have a kind of more holistic and counselor kind of vibe to it. So you'll get a balanced reading here. If you are enjoying the style of this reading and you would like to get a reading with me, I have included a link down below where you can request your reading. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into your reading. Now, what I would like you to do is to take a deep breath and select the pile that is calling most to you. Will you select the heart pile, the blue lace agate pile, or the fossil pile? Once you have selected your pile, please feel free to put that in the comments. It's always nice to see which piles people tend to gravitate towards. Sometimes there's an overwhelming one, sometimes it's a mix, so that's always fun to see. And if you have two that keep popping into your mind, you may have a message in both of those. So I recommend watching both of the piles that you're drawn to if that's you. Before we dig into our cards, a lot of you already know my spiel, but all of the futures that we're going to be talking about are all possible futures. If there's something that arises in the reading that you are not resonating with, there's almost always a way to change it. And that's because I'm only asking the cards for information that is helpful, actionable, and in your best and highest good. This information is also best combined with your own intuition. It's important to know that you are always in control of your actions, and a video on YouTube is not meant to interfere with your own judgment and intuition. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our heart pile. So here we have our heart pile. And before I drew any cards, I see things. I tend to see visions, and what I saw for the heart pile is a giant heart up in the sky. And I felt that you were on the ground looking up at this heart like it's a beacon, or like it's something that you really want, but you're not quite sure how to get it. There's this kind of hope and desire that was associated with it. And it also kind of feels like you know this exists, you see other people have it, or you might have had it at one time, and you're just not quite sure how to get your arms around it, how to have it again in that immediate sense in your life. And there wasn't this sense of resentment, bitterness, anger. There was nothing like that. It was just like, man, I really want that thing, and I'm not quite sure how to bring it down to earth with me. So that was the vision that I saw for our heart people. So let's go ahead and take a look at our heart pile, and we will start with our Lenormand cards. Here we have the Child, the Stars, and the Anchor. What's important here is that there can always be something new that enters. That possibility of a new energy can come in, And we can always hold on to that hope that we will have something new. I'm getting for heart people that you've been looking at this heart in the sky for a long time. So whether you're single and wanting to attract the right partner, or you're in a relationship that maybe has felt a little stagnant, or maybe it feels like it's been the same for a long time and you're ready for that new spark. Whatever the case may be there, it's important to hold on to the idea that something new can come in at any time. And that's what we really need to hold as our beacon, is that heart in the sky can come down to us at any time. Or that we can find something where we are and realize, wow, I'm so glad I saw that heart in the sky because it helped me to hope. It helped me to see what was possible, but you might find something totally different down on the ground where you are that might even be better for you. So it's important to know that you can always secure something new, and that the possibility of having what it is that you want is possibly just around the corner. So we need to hold on to this hope here. Let's take a look at our tarot cards. And we have the Three of Wands reversed and the Ace of Swords here. And the question I asked is, what's important to focus on? And this is a really clear message of being present. So even though we have this beacon in the sky, this heart that we look at, and we might see examples of what love can look like from one person to another, or we see a couple that we really admire. What this is saying is that it's important not to try to strategize or plan how exactly we can have it, but instead we remain really open and we pay attention to what is immediately around us, what spontaneous things are happening around us that we may be missing, that we may not be seeing. I see the Ace of Swords here as having a clear mind. And so this is, you don't want to have a lot of plans and strategy as it comes to love in your mind. Instead, it's almost this radical openness, having this idea that, wow, things can happen at any moment. How exciting is that? And if you have all of these plans about how you're going to meet the right person, or how you're going to spice up your relationship, and you're constantly trying to plan or strategize how to do that, you might miss a cue that's right in front of you. So when it comes to love for our heart people, it's really crucial that you are in the moment, that you're open to spontaneity, and that you're ready for something amazing to just be around the corner. Or maybe you find a trail of breadcrumbs that leads you to a heart that's available to you that you may not have ever seen or imagined that's possible to you. So if you pick this pile, it's time to stop planning and start living in each and every moment. Pay attention to little whims you have. And if you're noticing that you are kind of getting bogged down, it's important to have some type of practice to clear your mind. So whether this is going on a walk, whether this is a meditation, whatever it is for you, it's important to have some type of practice to clear your mind during this time. And lastly, I asked, what should our heart people avoid here? What's important to avoid? And we have the Hierophant. Immediately what I feel from this is throw rules, expectations, traditions out the window. If you kind of have a status quo, a norm that is working for you, maybe you're in a relationship and you already have your traditions and things you do. It's okay to just, if you get the whim to not do that thing, maybe you always watch the same show at the same time every night, and one night you're like, you know what? Let's bust out a board game, or let's do something sexy together, whatever it might be. This is about throwing out those kinds of traditions as you see fit. So this doesn't mean go hog wild and do something totally different for everything, but it's important to pay attention to your whims and not worry about rules, expectations, or even logic when it comes to this stuff. Love isn't logical. It's important to know that. So if you chose the heart pile, don't worry about rules or expectations or tradition. That all goes away. Maybe if you're single and you're on a dating app and the traditional thing is, oh, have a conversation for this many days and then go on a date. You might think, hey, I just want to go on a date with this person now. Whatever. It's important to listen to your own heart right now and your own intuition as it applies to love. And that is our heart pile. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you would like a more in-depth love reading, I am offering readings at this time, and you can schedule that or request your reading at the link down below. Next up, we have the Blue Lace Agate pile. I'm also calling this the Frozen World pile. This is the Frozen World pile here. So what I saw for the vision for this pile is ice on a lake, and it's starting to crack because the sun is coming out. And there are all these fissures on the ice, and it's clear that the ice is going to melt, but there were structures on the ice. There were like little shanty houses and things like that built upon it. And it's very clear that winter is over in this vision. The sun's coming out, and there's this feeling of kind of dread and nervousness that I felt like, oh my gosh, things are changing. And that's what I saw for this vision. So this is the Frozen World pile, or the Blue Lace Agate pile. Let's dig into our cards. And what we got here is the sun, the dog, the child, and the stork. And I swear, you guys, I do the visions and then pull the cards. It's just crazy how if you see the sun usually comes up. I just love divination. The question I asked is, what do you need to know about love right now? This is for our Frozen World people or the Blue Lace Agate pile. And what I'm getting is that you're going to start seeing where your true loyalties are, and shifts are going to be made accordingly. What this means is that you have the sun coming in, and I feel like the sun is also a bit revealing to some degree. So you're probably going to start to see where loyalty actually lies. And with the child and the stork here, I think you're going to see some new people coming in as well, and you're going to see some positive shifts. So you're going to see some people perhaps flying away from structures you've built over this winter period. And that, can feel a little bit hard. I feel like a little disoriented as I'm reading this, because that's kind of the feeling that's coming in here. If you are single, I would say you might see a shift in partnership coming in here. You might see, if you've had like kind of lighter relationships in the past, maybe you were just dating somebody, you might see those kind of taking off. But this isn't in a negative way, like, oh, this, there's so much heartache about this. Instead, it looks more like, yeah, it's kind of to be expected, but it still might feel a bit sudden. If you're in a deeper relationship, then this is the injection of kind of new energy and shifts. And there is a question that kind of comes into play for people in relationships, which is, how can you bring more play into the relationship? Because it seems like there's this desire to bring trust, to bring in some trust in a new way, and to really see, with the sun here kind of almost revealing, where is the trust, right? Where is that right now? And this is saying the way to kind of progress that trust is to bring in some playfulness into it. So if you're in a long-term relationship, you want to bring in some play at this time. How can you have some fun in your relationship now? It feels like things have been cold and iced over for so long, and now the sun's coming out. and you're able to really take account of where everything is. Things aren't so dark anymore. So where would you like to move your relationship to? So this is a really interesting spread here that you can read in so many different ways depending on whether you're single or in a relationship. But I think that the core of what we're getting here is that things are changing, things are moving for our frozen world people. Our world is defrosting and things are going to look very different pretty soon. Let's look at some tarot cards for our frozen world people or blue lace agate. And the question I asked is, what is important for us to focus on right now? And we have the Lovers and the Tower. Okay. So if you're in a relationship and maybe you've already, or perhaps you've been dating somebody for a while, it's really important at this time to look at fit. Don't worry about what you've built or how much time you've invested in a person. It's really important to evaluate the relationship. Are we fitting together? Are we a good match? And if not, it's really important that there's some changes made. So if you've just been dating somebody for a while, it may be time to release that relationship if it's not working for you anymore. If you are in a stable marriage of some kind, it may be important to inject some playfulness into your marriage and bring in some new energy, bring in some shifts. The Tower is clearly showing us it's time to shed what is no longer serving us. So even if we spent time building a shanty house on a frozen lake, it's important that we let it go if it's not something that we want to stay in anymore, if it's not something that we can see ourselves in the long run, if we do desire a long-term relationship. So this is definitely a time of change for our blue lace agate people. I asked a final question for our frozen world people, and that question is, what will help you right now? And we have the Three of Swords reversed. What I got with this is, when you look at this card, you can see that the swords are ready to kind of fall out, and it's time to let them fall. Kind of like the Tower. The things that have hurt us, that we may have something stuck in our heart that has wounded us before. It's important to let those old wounds and those old swords fall away. Now, I know this is easier said than done, but a lot of times what we try to do is kind of cling on to what has hurt us because it's familiar, or it's a pattern that we are used to dealing with in one way or another. And this is clearly saying it's time for a change. And the thing that has hurt you, or past patterns that you may have experienced before, you may see those carrying into your relationships now, and it's important to let them go so you don't repeat it. Because a lot of times we enter into relationships with people of the same type of characteristics, or we have the same type of relationship dynamic, and until we learn it, we're going to keep attracting that. So this is saying we can learn that now. We don't have to go through this again and again and again if we don't want to. Instead, if we just look at and investigate, what are these swords in my heart, and how can I just let them fall away? How can I let them go right now? Those are some really powerful questions that you could pull your own cards on, that you can journal about. And it's also important that we don't hold on to grudges. We may have someone who's recently hurt us, whether it's in this relationship or another. And what's important to know is that holding on to a grudge or not forgiving them isn't going to help. So we don't want to hold on to grudges. We want to release any kind of past wounds that we have so that we can move forward and find something that is the right fit for us and let go of anything that isn't. If you enjoyed the Blue Lace Agate pile or Frozen World pile if you selected this. Please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you would like a more in-depth reading, I do offer one-on-one readings, and you can request your reading at the link below. And last but not least, we have our fossil pile, or what I'm calling the deep dark pile. The vision that I saw for this is I saw someone swimming really deep down in a big body of water, like a big lake or an ocean or something like that. It was really dark down there, and I just felt like someone down there was almost incubating or hibernating, and just feeling a bit overwhelmed with emotions and not really going anywhere. Like they were just kind of marinating in these emotions. So that's kind of what I saw for the fossil pile. Let's go ahead and take a look at our cards for the fossil pile. Let's start out with Lenormand. And we have the coffin, the sun, the stars, the heart, and the whip. I just felt the pull to pull a few more cards than I normally do for our fossil folks. The message I got here for our fossil folks is that there's been this hibernation period, and now there's a rebirth happening, and your future in love is really going to be kind of contingent on your ability to go back out there and do things again and again. This might be getting hurt a little bit. The whip is not a significant hurt here, but, you know, kind of getting out there, getting back on the horse, if you will. If you are single, this could mean maybe you've just stopped trying to date for a while and you're just over it. This means that it might be time for you to kind of get back out there in a way and open yourself up again. And I don't feel like your healing is done, and we'll get to tarot cards about that, but this might be how you heal, is through how you deal with situations where you're being a little bit vulnerable and you're not sure how people are going to take that. If you are in a relationship, this could look like maybe you've been through a really challenging period. Maybe you've had an illness or been through something tough physically or had something really emotional happen to you. So you kind of put yourself away a little bit, maybe a little bit from your partner or from those that love you. And what it's saying here is that it's kind of a rebirth time. That's really how I see the coffin sun, as a rebirth and a renewal of energy. And it's time to look at what you want your future to look like. What are your goals for love right now? If you have a relationship, what are your relationship goals? And are you willing to do the work that goes into that? And I think you are, but it might feel a little bit shocking or a little bit of a jolt to the system right now, because you've been in this deep, dark place for a while, and you may have needed to be there to do that healing, but now it's time to come out, to get a little bit vulnerable, and to set some goals. If you're in a relationship, what do you want to see change in your relationship at this time? Where do you want to see you and your partner a year from now? And if you're single, it might be time to get out there again and to be willing to be a bit vulnerable, to see how you can bounce back from putting yourself out there again and again. And I know that that might feel a little bit scary or challenging when you've been here, but these cards are saying that you're ready for it. So I truly believe that you're ready for it now. I went ahead and pulled some tarot cards as well for our fossil or our deep dark water folks. And what I pulled here is what to focus on. And I pulled the 8 of Cups and the 6 of Cups reversed. These two cards are just screaming, release the past and walk away. And I know that's easier said than done, but what we want to do here is walk away from what has hurt us before, and we don't want to look back. We want to release old patterns. We want to stop rehashing what has hurt us before. And it's time to look forward. We have a future that's ahead of us. Sure, it might take some work. We might have to get our hands dirty a little bit, but we can have a future that is bright for us. And this is our rebirth moment. So I have an assignment for our fossil people, and that is to do a little ritual to release what it is that feels like it's plaguing you. So whether this is someone that has hurt you before, maybe you've been through some type of physical trauma, it's important that we get rid of that negative charge that it might have. And although we're never going to forget it, we want to release it. So it's no longer part of our current active mind, and it's something that has happened, but it doesn't carry such heavy emotions or such a heavy emotional charge. So if this is you, I think, therapy, there's no substitute for that. But one thing that can certainly help is some type of ritual to release it. So you might just want a simple one is just to write down the thing that you feel is heavy on your heart and burn it. Let it go. That's a very simple way to release that. And so that's my assignment for our fossil people. And the final question I asked is, what is important to avoid? So if you chose the fossil pile, this is what's important to avoid. And we got the 8 of Swords. And the 8 of Swords, I just kind of call the victim card. It's kind of playing the victim card. And if you could look at this person, you can see that, she looks bound, but she could easily free herself. These things are pretty loose, and she can walk away, just like our guy on the card here. So although we may have needed to take that time out to hibernate, to heal, now's the time to release these binds and free ourselves from that hibernation. And we can walk away. We can walk away to a better place, to a more beautiful scene, and we can live the life that we want to live. But it is going to require us to remove the blindfold, to remove these binds, and to get out of hibernation. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up and let me know what you thought of it below. If you are wanting a more in-depth reading, please feel free to head to the link below to request your reading with me. I hope you enjoyed your love reading. If you like this style of reading and you'd like to get a reading for yourself, an individual reading, you can find a link to do that with me down below. I also have every Lenormand card meaning here on YouTube and on my website, which is also linked down below. So I hope that you have enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you back here again very soon. Bye.